Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, Sales 360, A Complete View. My name is Colleen Lezovitz and I'm a marketing manager at Qlik, and I'm joined by my colleagues Dan Brault, who's a solutions marketing manager, and Joe Francis, who is our VP of Global Operations and Strategy Management. Before we begin, just some quick instructions regarding the webinar. As you can see, we are utilizing WebEx. All participants will be on mute throughout the entire session. However, if you do experience any technical difficulties, please do use the Q&A chat window to submit your problems. You can also use this window to submit questions pertaining to the topics we're going to cover today, because we will be reserving time at the end for a Q&A session. This session is being recorded, so I will be sending all attendees a link to the on-demand version by Thursday, so keep an eye out for an email from me. And at this time, I would like to hand things over to Dan. Dan?
Thanks, Colleen. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Sales 360 A Complete View webinar. Just to reiterate some of the logistical items, as a few people have just joined in, all participants will be muted during this webinar. It'll be about 60 minutes in duration, including a short Q&A session that will take place at the end of the webinar. And those questions and comments can be submitted and added to the chat Q&A box you see on the side panel of the WebEx screen. So feel free to submit them at any time during the webinar, and Joe and I will address them at the conclusion. The presenters for the webinar will be myself, Dan Brault, and Joe Francis, our VP of Global Operations and Strategy Management. My role as Solution Marketing Manager on our market development team includes general product marketing, solution, and functional messaging, including how we impact sales organizations in any industry. My focus is creating a series of go-to-market strategies and toolkits targeted at various business scenarios and functions so that they can align with downstream organizations such as sales, alliances, and marketing to execute those solutions and drive revenue. Joe will be walking you through a demonstration of QlikView with our Sales 360 application, and I'll let him introduce himself and the impact QlikView has on his everyday work. Joe?
Hi everyone and welcome to the call. As Dan says, I actually use this product inside the company to help run the business. So I report into our COO and our CEO in different capacities, responsible for operation and helping the executive team with strategy management, and QlikView is obviously a key tool for that. And what I'm going to take you through is our Sales 360 app, which is all about how we help the salespeople facilitate the conversation with the sales manager to ultimately help them sell more, and that's deployed in our Salesforce.com environment, and I look forward to demonstrating that to you in just a few minutes.
Great, thanks a lot, Joe. Here's our quick safe harbor statement. You can find all the details of this legal disclaimer regarding forward-looking statements on our website, qlik.com. So I'll just jump over that. As far as the agenda for today's webinar, here's a look at what will be covered. First, I'll be covering some market trends and see how we see those trends impact the new analytics, in particular sales analytics. I'll then introduce what the platform of QlikView is, in particular what makes QlikView unique to sales organizations and where Qlik can add value regardless of any sales role. Again, Joe will be taking you step by step through a Sales 360 application demonstration and building off the goals and values for sales data, showing you how through analytics you can make business discoveries and more informed business decisions. He'll also speak about the analytic value curve and the maturity we've had at Qlik developing our internal sales data architecture. I'll then wrap up discussing a few customer use cases and go over information on how you can learn more and some calls to action before opening things up for questions. So looking at some trends that are facing the industry, it's obvious that the world's changing around us, and it's in fact you and me, who are contributing to many of these changes. And highlighting three important trends quickly, the concepts are, one, that sales data is becoming more strategic, and there's a change that's happening in the sales information supply chain. And thirdly, this concept of discovery, which I'll get into. First off, the challenge of this strategic information is harnessing sales data's value. There's no shortage of sales data, and that data is coming from new sources all the time. There's new leads, new opportunities, new markets, and there's really no end in sight. And while much of it could arguably have potentially no value at all, it's just taking up space, some of it is potentially more valuable than oil or gold, with sales data as being a renewable resource. As with all natural resources, they become valuable when they're harnessed and then transformed into something usable and actionable. As the volume, velocity, and variety of this data grows, harnessing its value becomes ever more difficult. So every second, every day, there's more data, more sources of data, more links among the data, creating additional context, and then more social data than ever before, creating still even more context to that data. Next is the sales information supply chain. And this refers to taking raw sales data from CRMs or ERPs and marketing systems and going through the steps for quality control and into a form that's meaningful and analyzable. The delivery of the presentation medium, it must be simple and intuitive and must be able to easily combine many different data sources in a seamless experience. So the user doesn't have to consciously think about whether their sales data came from Salesforce or Marketo, for example. Also, the role of IT is transforming. I know we're focused on just sales organizations right now, but in the new enterprise, the role of IT and business intelligence is not about creating all the dashboards and reports sales users might possibly need. Instead, IT's role as they serve sales organizations is about ensuring security, compliance, and auditability, and provisioning users with high-quality data, excellent performance, and self-service business discovery. So IT shifts from being the providers of sales BI to serving as the enablers of it. So IT's role in the past would be the gatekeeper, and to IT's role in the future, the storekeeper, where they become yes people. The storekeeper provides as much self-service as possible. Sales leaders and managers shouldn't need to have to go to IT to be the gatekeeper of their data. Their time is simply too valuable to impacting top-line revenue. The final trend in BI and analytics today is the move toward discovery-enabling technologies. And to understand the reasons for the growing importance of discovery, we have to understand why discovery is such an important aspect in the sales decision-making process that BI is supposed to support. As the definition states, to discover is to find something unexpectedly during a search. And while many discoveries are irrelevant and ultimately useless, so many others are groundbreaking in their significance as to make all the trivial discoveries worth the waste of time. The importance of discovery extends to sales information. Even the simplest discovery within sales data can have an enormous impact on the top and bottom line of any size organization. And this could be something as simple as segmentating customers and markets on the fly, or increasing cross and upselling, or even more complex forecast optimization, resource allocation, and pipeline analysis. And I'd like to make a little side note here, and I want to be careful to distinguish between a standalone visualization and a business discovery app a person can use to make discoveries. Simply put, if a sales problem can be solved with a visualization, not a very complex problem. So visualizations are really just the tip of the iceberg, and that iceberg would be the person's understanding of their entire data set. A well-designed visualization can make it easier for the viewer to understand the meaning of their data, but it doesn't empower the viewer to explore the data and asking and answering these follow-up questions. To get those follow-up questions answered, the viewer has to go back to an expert for a new visualization. So if you look at this pie chart here, it gives us a look at the June 2012 retail sales, and it answers some basic questions. But immediately you start to look at this data and ask new questions. So you start to say, how have these sales changed over time? What's the forecast over the next 5 years? Does wealth distribution have an effect on some of these percentages? What if we brought in, geographic and age demographics? Would rising gas and healthcare prices change these results? What are the trends and patterns in this data that you would need to ask and answer to really find out what's behind and the story behind this. And this, in a nutshell, is the difference between a standalone visualization tool and a business discovery platform like Qlik. So that may all sound great, but you may be asking, well, what is QlikView? And I'm sure there's a range of familiarity of QlikView and BI among the attendees, so it's best to establish a quick baseline for the product. QlikView is a business discovery platform that enables user-driven BI. And our mission statement is simplifying decisions for everyone, everywhere. It's simple yet expansive and helping anyone, anywhere make better business decisions. And I know some mission statements are marketing fluff. However, I think you'll truly see after Joe's demonstration the power of the product to engage users in a self-service way and make sense of the vast amount of sales data where complex business problems are simplified in an intuitive way so organizations can make more informed business decisions from their data. Gartner has called QlikView the poster child for new end-user-driven approach to BI, and we've disrupted a traditional predefined business intelligence and placed the analysis into the fingers of all users, where they have the freedom to explore their data through guided discovery. Looking at Qlik in numbers, our customer base continues to grow, up over 32,000 customers. We have presence in 105 countries, and our partner ecosystem has expanded to over 1,700 partners. We've achieved 40% CAGR since 2006, and we anticipate that growth to continue throughout the rest of 2014. What's great about QlikView is you need help harnessing and making sense of all your data wherever it resides in your sales landscape. QlikView easily does this, making it natural for every user to access his or her data and perform sales analysis whenever and wherever they need it on any device. QlikView pulls data that resides in all of these disparate systems across your company, seamlessly pulling it in and making associations to uncover what you're looking for, and often to reveal these hidden treasures that you had not anticipated. Its core technology then compresses the data. In addition, makes links and associations with that to give a holistic 360-degree view of all your data regardless of the data source. Our associative technology, which you'll see in a few moments in Joe's demonstration, works in a way we describe as natural analytics, and it really mirrors the way our human curiosity naturally searches. QlikView enables insight from this association. And natural analytics means that data analysis simply becomes part of every business process for everyone. And traditional BI and our competitors, they take a linear approach to this, where they force these users down the predetermined drill path. And it's just simply not natural. They have a limited view and limited access to their data. They're forced down a drill path, and they can't modify that path without outside help. So the what if and the on-the-fly analysis, so integral to sales organization, just can't be performed. And with QlikView, the difference is night and day. It works the way our natural human curiosity works. From a single data point, it makes connections to other data points and brings them together in a meaningful way, where they can explore data from any point and in interactive interface, and they can answer those questions on the fly in real time and get instant visibility into their sales process. So here's a view of our biggest repeatable solution areas by function. And as you all know, no business function exists in a silo, and it's imperative to understand the impact of all these functions have over the entire business. So consider the impact of, for example, financial planning and analysis and expense management has on sales as far as pricing or cost reduction, or the role of marketing as they no longer have a blank check towards lead generation and campaigns, which start many sales processes. Even the role of supply chain and operations as far as logistics and inventory and production efficiency has enormous impact on the delivery of sales. Furthermore, efficient customer service and call centers enable that customer retention as a secondary arm to sales. So it's important to keep in mind that although we're talking about sales, the value of Qlik across an entire organization is the communication and collaboration as all of these functions work together. But we're here today to focus on sales, and the two major solution area that many of our customers gain tremendous value and ROI are sales enablement, which would be, empowering sales representatives to achieve better results, and sales management, which would be analysis as far as managing teams, performing that analysis, and improving performance. So here are some goals and values that QlikView empowers salespeople in any role, and it's important to stress that in any role, and Joe will go into this as far as the demonstration in Sales 360, from an inside sales rep to business development or named account managers to all senior management levels. On the enablement side, quick selections deliver immediate customer segmentation and targeting. Sometimes the toughest question is just, who should I call next? Or perhaps you want to target existing customers for those cross-sell and upsell opportunities. I mentioned before how valuable time is to sales personnel, and consider the impact of rapidly creating these personalized target lists rather than spending hours on the task, or how often preparing for customer interactions is neglected. And with QlikView, reps gain visibility into their account immediately on any device, so they don't have to spend the time to analyze these opportunities, and then they can now improve these conversion rates. QlikView also allows the time for more opportunities, more calls, and, well, more sales ultimately. So on the management side, and Joe will speak to this again, how managers can improve the performance of their team. They need a platform that allows better management decisions, to improve insight into their pipeline, and essential in all this is the collaboration and communication aspect with their staff as they allocate resources and optimize forecasts and compensation. In short, they need to transform their CRM investment into actionable data. So Sales 360 is a brand new QlikView application requested by sales, developed by sales, and then approved by sales. And it's uniquely designed and developed to better facilitate, as Joe said at the beginning, the discussion between sales representatives and management, and promoting better pipeline management and more effective identification of opportunities. So instead of being drowned in this raw sales data, Sales 360 allows fast access and sales insight that drive performance at all hierarchy levels. I'll now let Joe dive into the demonstration, and I'll wrap up with some final thoughts and a summary of Sales 360. But first, Joe's going to take you through the analytic value curve and talk about the development of our internal architecture, which inspired Sales 360. Joe?
Thanks, Dan. If you want to move to the next slide, that's it. Great. So as Dan mentioned, this is what we call the analytic value curve. This is based on the Gartner hierarchy of analytics. We start with at the lower end of it, descriptive analytics. Then we move up to diagnostic analytics. Then we have predictive analytics. And then we ultimately actually have prescriptive analytics. And what do they mean? Well, descriptive analytics can be summarized as what happened, where and when. So what did I sell last month, and how did it compare to the previous month? Diagnostic analytics, well, why did it happen? Why did sales go up or down? What else can we look at in order to determine why something took place? And then finally, in this example, predictive analytics, what is likely to happen, or what if? And what we find is that our customers start very simply in terms of the initial wave of questions they have, such as one I've given you an example to, but very quickly want to move along that curve as they ask more and more questions. And that's what we're going to demonstrate today using the Sales 360 application. So initially saying, how am I doing against quota, but then moving all the way through to who can I sell more to based on their buying behavior. And QlikView expands the whole range from the low end of descriptive analytics all the way through to the predictive, and I'll show that in just a moment. We do use, as a Salesforce.com customer, Salesforce dashboards and reports, and they, of course, do meet our needs in terms of the more simple, narrow use cases used in our telesales operations, for example. But as soon as we want to get into multiple data sources and answering more complex questions, that is, of course, where we use QlikView, and you'll see why in just a second. What do we actually use at Qlik? We've got 32,000 customers in over 100 countries, and over half our business is indirect. And the relevance of that is that we have over 1,700 users of Salesforce.com using what they call Performance Edition. We use their sales and service clouds, chatter, and mobile. And for the indirect business, we actually have over 2,000 users of PRM, Partner Relationship Management. And we use that for opportunity registration, opportunity management, account management, case management, as well as building our partner portal in the Force.com platform. We've also invested in a range of complementary technologies. So for marketing automation, we use Marketo, and that's a great tool for helping us with our lead scoring and lead nurturing. We also use demand tools for our data deduplication, Exactly Incent for sales commission embedded within Salesforce.com. A new tool on the market, relatively anyway, called DataHug, which allows us to track relationship management because it actually takes a look at the Outlook Exchange data and it integrates that into Salesforce.com. Sumo for an area called gamification, and that's about awarding salespeople points for adhering to certain processes. So it could be lead follow-up, it could be data cleaning, and that's proved to be very successful where we've deployed it. And OrgChart Plus we use for our complex account and territory power-based mapping. A tool called, a company called Magenta helped us build our Qlik Market, an external marketplace for QlikView applications, and that company was actually acquired by Salesforce.com. Improved help for providing help within Salesforce.com at the fingertips of the salespeople where they need it. So it could be competitive intelligence, it could be just an explanation of what does a certain field mean. Anaplan for our territory management. We've actually just signed up with the advanceddata.com as well, and then also investigating a couple of other tools in the area of territory management. So we've invested in a lot and experimented a lot with the technologies around Salesforce.com. And then finally, we're also, just to highlight some of our internal cloud strategy, we're also going live right now with NetSuite, a new ERP system, which is also our embedded configure, price, and quote engine which is embedded within our opportunities, Host Analytics for FP&A, Workday for HR, Concur for expenses, and Jive, which is the basis of our Qlik community platform, which has about 100,000 regular users on it across our partners and customers. And of course, we use QlikView or Qlik now to reach into a complex platform such as a Salesforce.com or a NetSuite, and then also to bring together data from multiple different data sources, such as wanting to merge Salesforce data with Marketo data, with NetSuite data and Workday data. And that's what you're going to see in just a moment. So if I just share my desktop and I'll start showing you the Sales 360 application. Right, Colleen, it'd be helpful if you could just confirm that you can see that.
Yes, looks good.
Great, thank you. So the Sales 360 application, as Dan said, is all about facilitating the conversation between the sales manager and the salesperson, and ultimately helping them sell more. We've deployed it as a tab within Salesforce.com, and we find that our customers commonly want to take this approach. What I'm showing you is in our demo environment, and the data is dummy data. You can see here it's got RVP demo, Regional Vice President demo data. But I'll show you a couple of things within our live system as well, and just to prove the point. This is actually our live system, and you can see here a tab called Sales 360, along with the standard tabs you'd expect to see deployed within Salesforce.com. I'll return to that later. The first thing is that when Joseph, in this case, the example person, logs into Salesforce.com, he gets to see what he should be able to see based on the hierarchy. But he, as a leader, a regional vice president, can obviously then choose to drill down to any level in his organization to see their data in particular. So it could be a sales manager that works for him or a salesperson lower down the organization. And any of these people can also decide to take a view of whether they just want to look at the relationship of the data. So do they want to look at it as an account, or do they want to look at it as an opportunity owner or a partner manager? And that matters when there are team-based selling environments where you have multiple opportunity owners in an account, and you might want to take a different view of the pipeline and the forecast on an account or an opportunity basis. So we can handle multiple different hierarchical situations within here, and indeed we do. The first tab is a dashboard, and the dashboard just covers some critical information. So what did I sell last quarter? How much have we sold so far this quarter? What's my improvement ratio needed on my pipeline when I look at the full year quota compared to the weighted pipeline? How am I doing versus quota this quarter, year to date, full year, and full year exit? And then I can just take a look at the forecast as well. Most companies that we work with who use Salesforce don't get to use the standard Salesforce.com forecasting module because of the nature of the products and services that they sell. And so they tend to use multiple different data sources to get a view like this. So quota comes from, it could be a quota system or even just spreadsheets. Closed information maybe comes from the billing system. And the commit, best, and pipeline all comes from the opportunity records in Salesforce, of course. And so this is a very common use case for our customers to be able to bring all of that together in one view and be able to move forward a couple of quarters, back a couple of quarters, get a full year view nice and easily. And over on the right, we get a little snapshot of where we are on pipeline, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. One of the most important things in any business from a revenue perspective is, of course, forecasting accuracy. And I'll click on the forecast tab here, so you can see that we've set up, much like using Salesforce, we've set up this in terms of tabs that cover key areas, and pipeline being one. And when you click on the pipeline tab, it opens up into sub-tabs, which allow you to drill in a little bit more. The first tab I've clicked on is forecast accuracy. Forecast, which gives us a view of forecast accuracy. Now, it gives us a view of the current quarter, and it gives us a view of last quarter. Now, because I'm using dummy data here, it looks a bit strange on the graph, so I'm actually going to just highlight the live data for one of our managers here. Here we can see that this person submitted, so this is the revenue items over here, and this is the timeline down here. And on the 19th of January, this person submitted a commit or a forecast of just around $2 million. The red represents the quota, the yellow represents the best case, and the black represents the closed one. And you can see over time what they've done is that they've closed revenue. Oh, that's just updating there. Excuse me a second. Just go back to that. Would refresh immediately while I'm demoing it. There we go, forecast. And of course, what we can see is a nice development of the forecast over time. Indeed, they closed at 116% forecast accuracy compared to the original submission at the start of the quarter. And that's about as good as it gets. What you want to see is a nice build-up of the forecast over time. And you can either do that in QlikView by reaching into the forecast submission table within Salesforce.com. But if you're not using that, then of course you can just take data snapshots every week and create a visualization like that that allows you to see this very critical component of working, which is forecast accuracy. And just another small thing, but you can also see, well, how much of the committed pipeline exists as a real opportunity value within the current quarter. So often we see with our customers there are multiple levels of forecast override, and actually you want to know how much real opportunity is there compared to the forecast when there's an overriding situation, or indeed multiple levels of forecast overriding. I'll return to the demo version now. And then the next thing that we'll take a look at whilst we look at the forecast is really just to take a look at the health of the pipeline. If we have an inaccurate forecast, there are really two areas to look to see why that might be the case. The first is pipeline health, and the second is sales cycle control. And it could be that either one of those is broken or even both. And here, this is where we start to take a look at that. So here I can see my pipeline coverage by quarter. So I can see here for Q2, I've got $53 million worth of pipeline compared to about 20 million, which is the dot. 2 times coverage would be, pipeline coverage is represented by the diamond, and 3 times by the triangle, and 3 times by the diamond. So on the face of it, if I took 3x coverage model, 3 times coverage model as a benchmark, I'd be in good shape. But actually, what happens is when I look to the right and I apply a weighted pipeline factor, I can see that there's actually a gap. My quota is 19 million, and my actual is more like 17 million. And so there's a real pipeline risk there. The other way that we look at pipeline is to look at what we call the ideal pipeline. And here I can see pipeline by stage of the sales process. At Qlik, we use this customer-centric selling sales process, or CCS. And so these terms, GI stands for goal identified, goal confirmed, champion, value, and negotiate. And I could say, okay, where is my pipeline by stage, which is obviously all aggregated based on the opportunities that are in Salesforce. And here, when I look to the right, I can see, okay, here's where's an aging profile. And here I can see the average age in the orange dot represented here should be about 19 days. But actually, the average age of my opportunities at the goal confirmed stage is more like 200. So I've got a real pipeline aging problem at the early stage of the pipeline, which is actually fairly typical in terms of what we and our customers see. And so the question is then, how do you address that? And then what we see over here in the call to action section, because we don't just want to look at pretty visualizations, we want to look at actionable data. Here I click on the what we call the pipeline review object, and up come a number of opportunities, looking at the size of the opportunity, is it a named account or not, that could be customer or not, opportunity name, owner, forecast category, close date, and key fields, have they been filled in, the sequence of events and the sphere of influence, which are Qlik's CCS terminology for the close plan with the customer and the contact roles on the opportunity and the amount. And here are 7 buttons down here that allow us to quickly get to the key data. So one might be, show me all of my old opportunities older than 365 days that have a probability to close of less than 25%. I click on that, it does all of the filtering, and I can see it's just auto-filtered just down to the key opportunities above 250, bracketed by different deal sizes and so on. And if I was in the live instance, I would just click on that link, and it would take me straight through to the Salesforce record. And I'll just very briefly touch on that now. Here, so if I click on the pipeline review for this particular manager, and I'll click on a link here very quickly, and what you'll see is that will take me straight through to the opportunity record in Salesforce.com, and then what the salesperson can do is update that record, and then you'll see that refreshed in the Sales 360 application at the next refresh cycle, which for us is typically on an hourly basis, and there we are, a particular deal there. So that's how that works. And there's lots of ways that you can set that up in a custom manner to be able to assess where are the risks in the pipeline, and start looking at that by stage or by age or by different risk factors, such as, are we talking to enough people? Another thing that happens in most businesses, and we're no different, is when there's a forecast shortfall or a pipeline shortfall that's been observed in an application like this. A typical conversation is pipeline isn't where it needs to be. Answer, what are marketing doing about it? I'm sure that doesn't happen in your company, so perhaps it's just us. So when I then take a look at what we call the growth, so looking at pipeline by opportunity creation, one of the things that we do and pay fairly close attention to is look at who's creating the pipeline on a periodic basis. So if I just take the 2014 data and I want to look at is the creator sales, or is it the BDRs, business development reps, which is really a proxy for marketing, or the partner organization, I can see that here. And then typically the next question is, how can I see that data on a quarterly basis, or even a monthly basis, or even down to a weekly basis? And you can see the development of that pipeline over time. And it may be that you want to then look at it by stage, you want to look at it by forecast category, opportunity owner, opportunity creator, or something like new business versus existing business. So just simply being able to kind of track the source of that pipeline and hold people accountable for the SLAs inside the business over who should be contributing is very important. The next thing, if I go back to the forecast accuracy point, if the question is why is there a forecast accuracy issue, and the answer is either pipeline health or it's sales cycle control. Well, here's where we might take a look at the sales cycle control. Here's a chart that shows the stage before the deal was either won or lost. And as we know, the winners in life are either the ones who win the deal or lose early. And the dark green shows the stage at close lost. Here we can see that the majority of the times that we lose a deal or decide to qualify out of a deal because it's not a good fit are very early, and that's good. The problem comes when we're starting to see deals down here at the late stage, and we're losing them. And of course, we will need to investigate that to make sure we've got a potential qualification issue. And of course, we can drill down and look at that by competitor and so on. We also, to make sure there are some lessons learned. So one of the lessons learned that we'll take is maybe around discounting. And this is a chance to do a little bit of what-if analysis, something our customers find quite appealing. So here, I could take a look at all of the opportunities. I could look at it by deal size. So if I just want to take a look at deals between 25 and 100K, for example. I could look at it by product family, by product line, direct or indirect, whichever slice and dice you want to take. And I can say that our net after discounting was 53 million in whichever currency. And what would have been the impact of reducing our discounting by 4%? And I can see here we would have actually increased our revenue by 5.9 million. So fairly substantial. Putting this kind of what-if analysis in the hands of the account teams who are in front of the customers is something that we find really important and does actually affect behavior as people pay closer and closer attention to the discounting. If I go to the territory tab, now up to this point in the conversation, the salesperson can be forgiven for thinking, well, you know, you're telling me my forecast isn't perhaps as good as it should be, or I'm winning deals or closing deals too early or too late, or my pipeline's not quite where it needs to be. Tell me something I don't already know. Give me something useful that can actually help me, the give to get model. And that's where the territory tab really becomes valuable. So firstly, as a sales manager, they can look at all of the different sectors that they're selling in. You can see where there are data gaps or not. And you can see where there might also be coverage gaps. So you can see in financial services, there are 1,300 companies, but there are only 535 opportunities. So it may be that we have a coverage problem there. I might then just drill in on that and look at where are those companies from a segmentation perspective. What's the balance of them across employee sizes of 5,000 or more, 3 to 5,000, all the way down to small companies, and again, see where those gaps might be. And all of that data is stored within Salesforce.com on the account record. But if I'm a salesperson, I really want to know who can I call to sell more to. And here is when we actually go down to a contact or lead level. Now at Qlik, we have called either a lead or a contact. We've aggregated those together and called it a target. So what we find is and have is a setup whereby if somebody comes to our website and they want to download something, they'll enter their job function, or like most companies, we also buy lists which give us an idea of somebody's job function. So we capture all that data on the lead or contact record, which means if I'm in selling to financial services and I want to take a 2014 deal that's in play for Q2 or Q3, I can see that these are all the roles that we're selling to across these 304 accounts. We have about 34,000 leads and contacts, which are merged into one view using QlikView by associating the lead to the account using the email address. So you get a single view of the leads and contacts. So that's reasonably helpful. But actually what I really want to know is, okay, well, where are there people that I'm not yet talking to that I could be talking to? So here I can see a list of accounts where, and this is where we're merging Salesforce.com data with Marketo data. So here I have a list of accounts with a Q2 or Q3 close date where there are targets, in other words, either a lead or a contact, and you can see whether it is a lead or a contact here, that where the contact has not been added to the opportunity record. Now, as a business practice, we ask our salespeople to add contacts to the opportunity record so that we can see all of the people that we are talking to or should be talking to when we're trying to close some business, and also so that the marketing teams can see what's the pipeline that they've generated on those opportunities. So what this gives us is a view where there is not a name on the opportunity record. So these three people here with these job functions, and sometimes we have them, sometimes we don't, were interested on these times and whether we had follow-up that was needed or not needed. And that is based on the priority score. So Marketo is giving us a score based on the behavior of the individual. So did they download something like the product or a white paper? Did they attend an event? And based on that activity, we score. And so what we so we have a threshold by which that person should be followed up or not followed up. And all of that is evident here. So I can quickly look down my list. I can see, well, was follow-up needed based on the score? If it was needed, was follow-up required? Well, it hasn't been done. Or where it was required, that it's been completed. But the more important point here is that these people are interested buyers, potentially, where we haven't followed up, and they are active, and you can see from these dates, on deals that we've got in flight now. And that means there's potential business to be had there. So that's one point. And then the last point is if I want to take a look at what we call the low hug rank and high priority. And this is where we not only look at the buyer interest, and if I just take this particular account here. So here I can see we've got buyer interest, which is determined by the Marketo score. These people have all scored a 70, which means they were fairly recently interested. But here I can see on the hug rank that there is a blank, which means not a single email or meeting has taken place with any of these individuals. So there's interested parties where we haven't had contact, or at least account management or telesales operation contact. We actually exclude marketing emails from the score. So, and that score we would know based on the Data Hug product, which is tracking the emails and the meetings from the Outlook server. It doesn't capture content, it only captures volume, which is good enough because it allows us to use QlikView to compare where there is interest, as I say, from a scoring perspective, but no relationship. So hopefully what you've seen today with the Sales 360 is a tool that brings together multiple different data sources. So in this application, we've got Data Hub and Marketo and Salesforce.com data, and from within Salesforce.com, we've got combined views of leads and contacts. We've created a tool that is truly a sales and marketing alignment tool that is critical for sales enablement, and it's a tool that allows us to get a compound effect of all of the investments that we've made in all of these other products to try and fill particular gaps in our capability. And it's Sales 360 that brings those together to actually create something extremely powerful. So, Dan, I'll pass back to you.
Great, Joe. Thanks. That was great. So just to summarize a little bit, I think it's important to note again that these functions are all related and connected. And hopefully you could see by the analysis that was done quickly by Joe in a matter of minutes, the impact that this could have on some of these other areas as far as enhancing sales ops, service and support, marketing, and sales alliances. And when sales operations has these greater insights into their customers or buying behaviors, potentially product mixes and trends, service and support also gains the ability to acquire and retain more customers. And likewise, marketing can improve the segmentation and targeting or loyalty programs and analysis into their campaigns. And finally, sales alliances can plan, execute, and track and measure those joint initiatives through their optimized, profitable partner relationships. So traditional tools produce predefined reports centrally, but allowing business users to gain their own insights based on individual team or territory criteria just is simply not possible. And with Sales 360, as you just saw with Joe's demonstration, all this changes, and salespeople, sales managers, even third parties, they can now freely explore their customer and sales data to better understand performance and pinpoint those prospects for sales opportunities, perform the discount analysis as you saw, or improve that forecast accuracy, where single sign-on and section access makes it possible to be in control of what data each users have access to. And the result is a highly tuned outbound sales effort with increased call volume, call quality, conversion rates, and ultimately revenue. So it offers a complete view of the pipeline, territory, win-loss rates, opportunities, and even competition. So it helps answer that simplest question of what I talked about earlier, of who should I call next, and then some of the advanced forecasting and calls to action to develop areas where sales can improve performance and generate revenue. So we've already talked about how Qlik uses QlikView internally and how Sales 360 has changed our organization. But here are some customer use cases that have achieved astounding ROI. We have hundreds of customer listings that can be found on our website, qlik.com, and I encourage you to check them out. You can filter by industry, location, and function to view specific references most relevant to you. First up, Cisco, the worldwide leader in networking devices. They needed an effective way to view multiple data sources consisting of hundreds of millions of lines of install-based records, and they wanted to provide a self-service resource for a business user to convert that data into actionable BI. And the solution was deployed to their employees and sales operations for increased visibility into their customers, and they identified new revenue opportunities and potential risks that could arise. They've saved more than $4 million to date and generated more than $100 million in additional revenue. And the benefits were not only, increased visibility into those sales opportunities, but also improved relationships and satisfaction with their customers. Swedbank, as you can see, a great big data example with 4.3 million customers and 260 million agreements, 800 billion cells analyzed with QlikView, and that was deployed to 5,000 users in less than 6 months. Illy's, their sales time spent on customer service communication was reduced by 40%. So imagine that impact that it's had on that organization. A top 10 global high-tech manufacturer, 18 million of cost savings just from a single market share app. So you could get one app quickly deployed and immediately see the benefits across the organization. WebHelp, the same story here. 30% overall company revenue increase and 100% uplift in sales over 12 months for a leading brand that they had. So here are a few calls to action before we open it up for questions and where you can learn more. Please visit our solution messaging, qlik.com, for different solution messaging based on function or industry or even data source. Our demo website, demo.qlik.com, has over 80 demonstration applications which you can download and play with. We even have a Salesforce demo app on there where you can sign into once you've downloaded it and start to play with your own data. Our partner solution marketplace, market.qlik.com. This is where all of our immense partner ecosystem submits solutions into an online exchange, whether it could be APIs or connectors or extension objects. Some of them have solution applications for niche industries or niche components of specific business problems. Our user community, Joe mentioned it a little earlier. It's run by Jive, or www.qlikcommunity.com. The largest user community in the BI universe with over 100,000 users, many different discussion forums and message boards and blogs where you can interact with different users of Qlik and answer questions in a very fast manner. We also have education services, so you could actually start free training right from our website on how to build different charts and graphs and designer or developer training based on your role within the BI universe. And then there's recommended courses based on those roles. So definitely check those out and start to play around with some of the tutorials. We also offer classroom tutorials and more in-class learning situations on premise. Before we open up for Q&A, I just want to encourage you to download the personal edition, which you can download for free, and start to integrate your data and play around with the visualizations and make business discoveries on some of your data within your architecture.